Hey everyone. Okay, so today is a very special day for me because this is the first time I'm attending a DevFest, and I've also gotten an opportunity to speak as well as sponsor it. So it's a very special day for me, and I thank you all for being here to listen to me. So a bit about me is that I'm the founder of and CEO of PixelApps, which is a development studio for startups. Before I move on to my presentation, I like to ask two questions. So how many of us have already created a startup before or have done some sort of entrepreneurial thing before or are doing it right now, just by a show of hands? Okay, so a lot of us. And how many of us are just exploring to become an entrepreneur and start a startup? Okay, so a lot of us are exploring as well. So in this session, I'll just share a bit about me and what my journey so far with startups have been. So I started very early. I'm a Marwadi by background and living in Gujarat, so a lot of business gene. Plus, I've always been interested in coding. At the age of 13, I first stumbled across HTML, CSS, and then I started building my own websites. It was very exciting for me कि अगर हम नोटपैड पे कुछ HTML के टैग्स डालते हैं, उसको .html से सेव कर देते हैं, तो it opens up a website as in Chrome. That was very exciting, and that's when I got into coding. I've been doing it from a long time. And in college, I was working in the first year of my college. I was working on artificial intelligence. I was training models. I was learning about AI, computer vision. That was very exciting stuff to me. And that's when I came across Flutter, which actually changed the journey of my life in a very, very, very good way. So I came across this framework called Flutter, which allows you to build mobile applications. And being an enthusiast, I was bound to try it. When I tried, I loved the framework. I wanted to build something out of it. And the first idea that came to my mind was, I want to begin a startup on this. So I gathered two friends from my college. We started working on a startup which was called Grapevine. And it was a social media for my college. And we started working on it. We were building the mobile application. But unfortunately, COVID came at that time. And our college closed. And we had to come back to our homes. And that's when I started working in Flutter full time. So I just wanted to keep working on Flutter, so I started working with other startups. Most of them were from outside India. And while working on those startups, I was making a lot of money. I was loving what I was doing. And in my second year of college, I decided to drop out, that I don't want to do college anymore. I want to pursue this as my full-time career. And that's when I started PixelApps, which is a development studio for startups. Right now, we are a team of 25 people, and we are working with a lot of Y Combinator startups, and we are working with a lot of Silicon Valley companies, and we are helping them build mobile applications with Flutter. So that's what I do mainly. Apart from that, since I'm an entrepreneur, I try to ingrain the same spirit in my team. And together, as a bunch of engineers, we have tried to build 3 startups. We have failed in all of them. And right now, we are working on the 4th one. So discussing about the agenda, that what I would like to discuss in this session is that when do you feel that you actually want to move to entrepreneurship? If you decide to move to entrepreneurship, what are the first fears that you face as an engineer entrepreneur? And even after addressing your fears, how do you start that journey? What lessons do you learn from that journey? And then I'm going to cover I think it's this, yeah. And then I'm going to talk briefly about how to get investments for your startup. So starting with the first part of is when move to entrepreneurship. If you're working on a full-time job, if you're an engineer, when do you get that realization that you want to move to entrepreneurship, you want to create a startup? And my general advice is don't. So building a startup can be very tough. What is that? All good? Okay. Yeah, so building a startup can be very tough. It's very challenging. Having a full-time stable job is really good and you can do a lot in your job. But if you decide that you want to build a product, you have to be ready for a lot of bad things that can come on your way. And you have to be sure that you really want to do it and really want to tackle it. So even after knowing all the bad things that can happen when you're doing a startup, if you still want to do it, that's really great. And then we can move to the next important step. That is something which is in our hand, that how we address those fears as an engineer to start our startup. So the biggest fear I think most of us would face is that I know how to build. As an engineer, you know how to code, you know how to build a product. But what about selling? Building is the important part of a startup, but I think more important thing is that you know how to sell. And whenever, as an engineer, you will have to handle marketing, sales, legal, finance, a lot of things. So how do you do that? So there are a couple of ways that we can handle this. Is the first one, which I believe is a very good one, is find a co-founder. So if you are an engineer, you want to work in startup, will be very good at the CTO role, but you can find a co-founder with the complementary skills. So you can find someone who knows how to market, you can find someone who knows how to sell. You see if you are a good fit with them, and you can then start on this entrepreneurial journey together with them. So finding a co-founder is a very good option if you don't know how to sell to investors, to people, and to your customers. Another thing that you can do on top of it or without is learn the other skills. It's not like that if you have never sold before, you can't learn to do it. All the things that we want to do are learnable. But the problem is that none of these skills are mostly taught to us in school. Even if we are doing a computer science course, nobody is going to teach us how to run a marketing campaign or how to handle the laws of the company. That is something you will have to learn someplace outside. But what place is that? So over the years, I'll just share my experiences of where I learned the skills from, and I think if those will be beneficial to you. So a lot of VC firms in India conduct these co-founder matching programs and residency programs. So a residency program is a program where you can join, and these VC terms will teach you the A to Z of entrepreneurship. So they will tell you how to build your product, how to market it, the basics of everything you will be taught here. And you will be meeting a lot of people who are also looking to build a startup, and you can find a potential co-founder there. So from my personal experience, Antler India is a very, very good program to try entrepreneurship. They have a program called Antler Residency India, and if you join that program, you will meet a lot of people. Plus, the best thing is that just for attending that program, they pay you 1 lakh a month if they like what you are doing and they trust in you. So you can attend Antler's program. Then there are some other accelerators like On Deck, ASL, GCF, and Mathri School, which is run by one of my friends and partners. So these are some places that you can get to meet like-minded people and learn these soft skills that you need to build a startup. Another place which is my favorite is to attend a lot of events like this one. So this one is a developer fest where you are going to meet a lot of developers, but there are other events where you can actually meet a lot of entrepreneurs. So if you are from Ahmedabad, you are actually very lucky, because in Ahmedabad we have ECHI, which is run by a citizen of our city only, and is very, very good event to attend. So ECHI generally happens in CIAE Ahmedabad, and it happens usually bi-weekly. So all the experts in marketing, sales, they create a panel of them, and then they give you classes on how to handle those things, and you can even ask them questions. So attending events is a very good way to build to network with people and meet like-minded people. Similarly, in North, there is a foundation called Head Start. You can become a member of Head Start, and you will also network with people there. So just sharing some of the pictures, the beautiful memories I made in 2022 by attending all these events and networking with people. So this was my first this was my first event of the year in Gurugram. So we met the VP of Go Mechanic, and recently this week only I met him again in another conference, and we hit it off. So I'm very good friends with him right now. Yeah, this was us in BDS Bangalore. So this was us, this was me in another ECHI event in Bangalore. So that time I also got the opportunity to host it. 100 people came and attended that event, and I interacted with everyone, exchanged numbers, and I made a lot of friends in Bangalore who are also into startup. Similarly, this was us in Flutter conference in November only. This was us in Decrypt.dev, which is the biggest Web3 conference that happened in India this year. And this is from this week only. So wherever I go to these events, this is a couple that is always there. Yeah. So they also have their own startup. Wherever I go, I always meet them. These two people are also very entrepreneurial, always very enthusiastic about building. And yeah, this was another event that I was in. Yeah. So you can attend events, you can join residency programs to meet another founders, and still if something is missing, you can always follow these good people on LinkedIn. So I follow Abhilash Sir, who is also from Ahmedabad. He's from tech background only, and is a very, very good startup guy. He has built his companies in the past, he has exited from them, and he is investors in many. So he writes a lot of very good content that I follow on daily basis, and then you can follow these other people. So the last guy is from Andrew from MicroAcquire. I think most most of you would have heard of him. So you can definitely follow these people on LinkedIn. They share a lot of very good knowledge, which comes in handy. Yeah, so here we learn how to actually meet like-minded people, and we address the fear of not being able to sell. Now, the second fear that I think we all face, despite of being an engineer or not, is what if my startup fails? And since 90%, like the stats say that 90% of the startups that start are bound to close. So if you're beginning a startup, you should actually assume that I'm going to fail at the end. And that can be a very devastating experience. So you'll have to be ready to tackle that. How do you address the fear of failure? So there are definitely always ways. So the first thing I believe is that whenever I start a venture, I am like, I know this is not going to work out. I am going to fail, but I still want to do it. Second thing is that if you are seriously considering building a startup, then I'll say have a financial backup of 12 months at least. Because when you're working on a product, your whole mind is there. You will probably not be able to make any money in the next 12 months. And if you're worried that we will not be able to survive without making any money, then that will just add an extra pressure to you. And it is better to not build in that scenario. So if you're seriously considering building a startup, have some backup with you. Again, like whenever you are building a startup, a lot of us become really emotional, and we try to like put all our savings that we have done till date to that startup, and that is a very bad idea. Because if you fail at the end, you have failed, and all your startup savings, like all your life savings, has gone as well. So please, I would recommend that never do that. Like whenever I am building something, I just assign a specific budget to it, that this is what we will spend on this. If this works, very well. If this does not, then we will just let it go. And if you are like started up and you also have a team working with you, and you know you're about to close, then please let your team know prior so they can also find other alternatives. But the idea is like all of us should be ready to fail. But even though we fail, the journey that we go through is very beautiful. The things you learn, you always come out as a stronger and wiser man out of this whole startup journey. So every one of us can at least try this once in their life, and it's definitely very rewarding. So now that we have addressed our fears, I would love to know what other problems that you all face at the end of this session. We'll definitely keep a lot of Q&A time. But addressing these two fears, like I think we can start on the journey of building startups. And I would like to take this time to share what we have built. So basically, in the past 2 years, we started 3 product-based startups. 3, all of them failed, not a problem, but we were able to actually raise funds in 2 of them, and we were also able to get some users. So even though they failed, we learned a few things from them, I think, which can turn out to be very valuable. Yeah. So the first thing, this was our first startup, InstaCV. So it is a resume builder. I think a lot of you would have used Novo Resume, Zeti Resume. So it was exactly like that. And when I say exactly like that, I mean really exactly like that. We had no USP at all. Like it was just the copy of Novo Resume or Zeti Resume, but not still that good. And since we already had a lot of well-established competitor already, even we had some users, getting them was very difficult because they knew that competitors exist. And we ultimately realized that build to solve a problem that hasn't been solved yet. If there is a problem that has been solved, very well established competitors exist. Unless you have a very good USP, nobody is going to come to you, nobody is going to use a product. So that was a lesson that we learned from our first startup. Now taking this lesson in mind, build to solve a problem that hasn't been solved yet. Then we started Speak Genius, which is a edtech startup. So we started this company when the edtech wave was hitting. Byju's was getting funding, like White Hat Junior became very popular. All these edtech startups were rising, and we also wanted to catch the wave, and we wanted to be a part of it. So we realized that students in Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, they do not know very well to read and speak in English. So we tried to create an AI that actually solved that problem, which hasn't been solved yet so far. But again, like it was still not a perfect plan. So even though we solved a problem, we were not able to find customers that were ready to pay, because Tier 2, Tier 3 students are not very well-to-do, and getting them to pay for a mobile application was very difficult. So even after our mobile application was launched, we were not able to get any paid customers. And this was our second lesson, that build for customers that can pay you. So 2 good lessons learned throughout the journey. Very happy with it. Taking those two in mind, we started the third company, which is called Cloud3 Secured, and this we started in the Web3 wave. So हमने edtech wave को हमने like almost lose कर दिया. So we tried to catch the Web3 wave, but we caught it. We developed a problem that hasn't been solved yet. We built a solution for people who are ready to pay. So we built a solution that is for celebrities and people who care about their privacy, and mostly for people of Europe and US who are concerned about their privacy. So these are all paid audience, right? But the problem was that even though we applied the lessons we learned in the previous journey, this project did not really align with what we really wanted to do at PixelApps. Like, we are a mobile development studio, we wanted to move in that direction, and this was a completely different thing that we got our hands on. And when recently the Web3 wave died, when investors stopped considering Web3 startups, our interest in the project also lost. And then we realized that you should always build things that you are passionate about. If you're not passionate about what you're building, eventually when things will turn bad, you will lose your interest on it and you will not be able to pursue it. So you have to be very consistent whenever you are building a startup. And to be consistent, you have to be passionate. So 3 startups कर लिए हमने, तीनों में ये 3 lessons सीखे कि try to build for a problem that hasn't been solved yet, build for customers that can pay, and build for things you're passionate about. So now I believe to learn these 3 lessons, we spend a lot of money, a lot of time, and it's good that if we can help a lot of other people not go through this path and just know these lessons. All right. So apart from these 3 lessons, there was a secret 4th lesson that was common in all the projects that we did. And if we knew that secret lesson, we would have avoided us a lot of trouble. Now, even after I will, in the next step, I'll share what the lesson was. Even after I share it, a lot of us will not be able to follow it because it is very, very against our instinct. So as an engineer, you want to build, you want to code. But my lesson is, don't start by coding. And I think Nikita here also said this. A lot of other people here were saying the same thing, that never start by coding. So what we believe is that whenever we have an idea as an engineer, we try to build mock-ups of it and research tech stacks कि इसको मैं JavaScript में बनाऊंगा, यहाँ पे मैं Android के लिए ये use करने वाला हूँ, Flutter, and you are very excited about building the product. And what happens is you build a mock-up, you get down to coding, spend 3 to 6 months of your life, उसको बना दिया, पूरा product को polish कर दिया, and you spend all this time in a room without talking to any customer. You're believing कि जब मैं launch करूँगा बस मेरे पास users ही आ जाएंगे. And as per your belief, you complete it, you launch to users, and you believe that customers will love the product, you will be able to raise funds, you will be able to scale, go viral, and you will have a lot of money. But that's just I think that is something that is very, very rarely that happens. It's very hard to build something like Facebook. What usually works today is when we have a lot of competition, when you have an idea, don't start by coding at all. First, try to run an experiment for an MVP. So whenever you're trying to build something, try to achieve the same concept for 10 users without writing any code. So you can use WhatsApp groups, Facebook marketplaces, or create a simple Webflow website, which is like a no-code tool. Try to build an MVP. Like we have device here, which also allows you to build like no-code tool websites, so you can use them. Build something, run an MVP experiment, get your feedback from your customers, ask them if they like it, if they don't like it, what is that you can improve, are they ready to pay for it. Now go through 3, 4, 5 cycles of iteration, like understand your project end to end, understand your customers end to end, and when you have received a validation from them that hey, this is something I need and this is something I can pay for, then only you reach out to investors. Now again, even after you have gotten validation for the customer, don't start coding yet. Because if you start coding, you will be spending a lot of money on development and that will just burn your cash. A good idea is that whenever you have a customer validation, people who are ready to pay, reach out to investors. Because there's a lot of things that haven't been refined yet. So whenever you will reach out to investors, they will look your project from a magnifying glass. कि इसमें कहाँ पे loopholes है, what is wrong, what is not right. And even though customers are paying, it is not necessary कि वो business profitable होगा. It can be very easily possible कि ये business हमेशा cash burn करता रहेगा and you will run out of money. So investors will help you figure out all these loopholes. So pitch to a lot of investors, you'll get feedback, you will improve your business model, you'll pitch again, you'll get feedback again. And you will, once you have gone through this cycle, then you have a product that has been refined, you have a business model that has been refined, and I think now it is the time to raise funds, of course, because we need it when we want to build. And once we have raised funds, then get down to coding. Hire that set of engineers, hire a good UI UX designer, hire your product manager, and then you start building it. And once you build it, you don't launch it to a lot of users at once. You first run beta tests on it. You send it to the same users who you use for product validation. You get the feedback from them. And once they send you some improvements, you improve it, then you scale, and then you go viral, and then you make a lot of money out of it. So that's what a product journey is that usually works. And I think we learned all these lessons a very hard way. So good so far. Like, we know how we have to go about it. Like, we know how to run an MVP experiment. Like, to find potential feedback from users, we'll have to actually find users who might be our customers. So please don't ask your friends or family or relatives for feedback, because just to keep us happy, they will give you a positive feedback, and that is not what the real customers really feel. Try to find people who actually are gonna be your customers. So moving from this part, another part is also how to reach out to investors. Because as an engineer, you probably wouldn't have never talked to an investor, and you don't know when they invest, what kind of startups do they invest in, and what kind of money should I be asking them. So it's all very new for us. So even 2 years back, when we were trying to get funds for Speak Genius, I did not know any investor in this country. So my friend Rohit, who runs a Mathri school, he actually set up a few investor meetings for me, and I was waiting for them कि अब investor आएगा, I will have to. We prepared a very good pitch deck. हमने pitch deck के बहुत मेहनत करके pitch deck काफी refine कर दी थी. But then we were I was waiting कि अब मैं investors को क्या pitch करूँगा, what will be their response, क्या वो invest कर देंगे first go में. I was very nervous about these things. And over the last 2 years, after pitching all these startups and talking to a lot of investors in the country, I think I have an idea कि यहाँ पे क्या work करता है, क्या नहीं करता है. तो as a first set, you have some angel investors. So for example, if you are building something in the healthcare domain, so you try to find a person who is very successful in the healthcare domain. Either he has a startup of his own, either he has a hospital of his own, and he knows the industry very well. And you ask him for money. So these are angel investors, wealthy people who want to invest, who want to make more out of their money. And then you reach out to them. Now, angel investors usually pay you in smaller checks. They won't give you a very big amount. They will pay you a small amount. But the thing is, you can actually reach out to a lot of angel investors as once. So the best part is that you can raise money from a lot of angel investors. Plus, now these people, since they have invested money in you, they are concerned about you. They will be giving you mentorship, what you should do, what you should not do, and they will be using their connections to help you grow. So having investors on your side is not just about money, it is also about mentorship. And mentorship is as equally valuable as the money you're going to raise from them. So that's very important. So apart from angel investors, we also have VC firms in India. Now, I think in the past, the trend was that VC firms only invested in you when you were at a scale. They did not invest in early startups. But right now, I believe the trend has fully changed. So what happens is all these VC firms, they have a fund defined. So these fund, they invest in number of startups. Now, all these VC firms has also a fund for early startups, with the only specific in invest in new startups. So you can reach out to these VC firms, and they actually give you bigger checks. So if you're working with a VC firm, you don't need to go to a lot of angel investors. एक firm के पास जाओगे, and that fund will completely fund all your money needs. And the best thing is, these funds have a monthly pitching program. So while you are building, while you are thinking about your idea, you can just join their monthly pitching program, and then you can get a feedback really fast from investors. So just sharing some VC firms that I know personally who invest in a lot of engineers and in people early in the industry. One of them is Antler, who also runs a residency program, and also invests in a lot of early age startups. Then we have Axel Atoms program, which is specifically based for early age startups, V Founder Circle, R Ventures, 314 Capital, Thai Angel. So these are all the investor firms that invest in early age startups. There are a lot of them that I have not mentioned, but these are the ones I have interacted with personally in my life. And I think they are very invested in early age startup ecosystem. So that is all. We all go through ups and downs. Success is not final, failure is not fatal, but it is the courage to continue always, even after all the failure, that counts and makes us a better man. So this is my team at PixelApps. All the people are not here, but I think the ones they are also sitting at the back. So thank you so much for listening to me. I would love to answer any questions. Any questions, anybody? I love to answer. Yeah. Which one? Acha, the new one. Yeah, so the new one, like, we have actually not told it, like, we have not actually publicly told about it. But what I can tell you is that based on the 3 lessons, we actually applied all of those things without even writing a single piece of code. We are now able to generate $300 a month in revenue without even a single piece of code in just like 1 month of thinking of the idea. So all the lessons we applied now, and I think this 4th startup is actually going to turn out good for us. So that I can share, but yeah, the 4th one, we are like keeping it secret for a while we are working on it. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think it's yeah. So for us, it was 2 things. Like, a good thing for us was that, like, I have a very good team who always supports me, so we are all very entrepreneurial. So PixelApps is a company that is stable, that is working all this while, right now. So we are having some good cash flow coming in from PixelApps, so that actually supports us to, like, go ahead and build all these startups. And on top of that, it's our vision that in the long run, from a startup studio, we want to have a few products of our own. So we just want to, like, keep experimenting and build something of our own. I think that is something we will take proud in. So yeah, that's the vision and the motivation from the team members that just keeps us going. Yeah, please. Yeah. Yeah, like that's a very good question. So if you are building something, then obviously a lot of good big customers will be there. But I think you have to find a niche कि बाकी बड़े customers ये चीज़ तो बहुत अच्छे से कर रहे हैं, but एक चीज़ ये नहीं कर रहे हैं, and there is a few set of users that need that thing done in a very well way, and I'll just only target that. And once you have those users coming in, those as your regular users, then you can expand to a bigger product. But finding a niche was very important, which we learned in the first lesson. So yeah. Like
right now, no one is like you personally because you are went to maybe taken for granted or something like that, right?
like yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, to be honest, that is something I was always worried about. Ki what happens if my team takes me for granted? But like, these guys are very good. Like, I think when they see that the founder of the company is trying hard and he's trying to grow the company, then I think the energy just translates over, and everybody, I think the people we came across were also very entrepreneurial and very good natured. So they supported me throughout the whole journey. So I think I could not have done this without him. So it's like the people you choose are also very important. I could have very easily choose wrong people and I would not have been able to build it. But yeah, I think the team that we made throughout the way, and the way we established the culture has been very good. So that supported it. Yeah. All right, sir. I think just one. Yeah, so for every startup that we built, we like kept a cash range of 5 to 7 lakhs only. So I think you can keep more than that as well, but it's good to get it done in 5 to 7 lakhs because that is very good to that is a good amount to verify your idea. और उसके बाद I think one should actually bring in investor. मैंने उससे ज़्यादा खुद से invest करना, it depends a lot on your personal capacity, but we kept 5 to 7 lakhs. अच्छा. It actually, like after our surveys, it turned out to be कि no matter हम कितना भी charge करें, the pricing was not the problem. We could have reduced the pricing to very minimal, but they just did not like the concept of paying for an application. For them, an application should always be free. So that was the problem that we were not able to solve, the changing that mindset of paying for an application. So yeah, I think like they are saying our time is over. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Like.